Thank you all for joining today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So first we'll be singing a beautiful song by Srila Jiva Goswami. श्री श्री युगलाष्टकम की जय, श्रील जीवा गोस्वामी की जय। श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन श्रीमान महाप्रभु श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिम्हदेव श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। कृष्ण प्रेममयी राधा, राधा प्रेममयो हरे। कृष्ण प्रेममयी राधा, राधा कृष्ण प्रेममयी राधा, राधा प्रेममयो हरे। कृष्ण जीवनेन धने नित्यं, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्णस्य द्रविणं राधा, राधाया द्रविणान् हरे। जीवनेन धने नित्यं, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण प्राणमयी राधा, राधा प्राणमयो हरे। कृष्ण प्राणमयी राधा, राधा प्राणमयो हरे। जीवनेन धने नित्यं, राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। Krishna Dravamayi Radha, Radha Dravamayo Hari. जीवनेन धने नित्यं राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण गेह स्थिता राधा, राधा गेह स्थितो हरि। जीवनेन धने नित्यं राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। कृष्ण चित्तस्थिता राधा, राधा चित्तस्थितो हरि। कृष्ण चित्तस्थिता राधा, राधा चित्तस्थितो हरि। जीवनेन धने नित्यं राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। नीलांबरधरा राधा, पीतांबरधरो हरि। नीलांबरधरा राधा, पीतांबरधरो हरि। जीवनेन धने नित्यं राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। वृंदावनेश्वरी राधा, कृष्ण वृंदावनेश्वर। वृंदावनेश्वरी राधा, कृष्ण वृंदावनेश्वर। जीवनेन धने नित्यं राधा कृष्ण गतिर्मम। Radha Krishna Gatirmama Radha Krishna Gatirmama Radha Krishna Gatirmama Radha Krishna Gatirmama Shri Yugalastakam ki jai, Srila Jiva Goswami ki jai. So we'll read the meaning of this, and maybe like one by one we can read. So for first, Radha is made of pure love for Krishna, and Hari is made of pure love for Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is the treasure of Krishna and Hari is the treasure of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Please.
Radha pervades the life force of Krishna and Hari pervades the life force of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is totally melted with Krishna and Hari is totally melted with Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is situated in the body of Krishna and Hari is situated in the body of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is fixed in the heart of Krishna and Hari is fixed in the heart of Radha. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha wears a cloth of blue color and Hari wears cloth of yellow color. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Radha is the mistress of Vrindavan and Krishna is the master of Vrindavan. Life's greatest wealth is Radha and Krishna, my eternal shelter.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. So before we start for today, I first want to mention why we sang this song also. Because when we see the refrain in every line, Jivanena dhane nityam Radha Krishna Gatir Mama. So the word Gati there is representing both shelter as well as the path. And shelter is our destination, where we are sheltered. And path is our means to get there. Therefore, for today's topic, where we are dealing with the mysteries of the holy names and the journey involved therein, so it is about our Gati as well, and where we are going and where we want to go. So which is both the means as well as the end. And before we actually get started with the class, I would like to seek the blessings of the acharyas and gurus, and also especially my Shiksha gurus. I actually have a lot of Shiksha gurus from whom I take inspiration for different subjects. So like headed by Srivas Pandit Prabhuji, from whom I am learning the Shastras through different courses, and also Ramanand Saka Prabhuji, from whom I get a lot of insights, and all the assembled devotees here You're all senior to me in several ways, and it would be audacious of me to claim any kind of qualification to be sitting in front of you. I seek your blessings, and if anything, I would like to keep the acharyas and the guru on my head, so that I may speak something that is meaningful and makes the devotees as well as Sri Radha Madan Mohan Mahaprabhu, Sri Lakshmi Narasimhadev, Srila Prabhupada pleased. So, with that, we will get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lalitanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalo Badhayascha Ye Chetayetairana Viddham Sthitam Sattve Prasidati. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Thank you, Nikunjanayak Prabhu. So about 6 to 7 months ago, we did the part 1 of this, which is the introduction. The idea was that to establish the sambandha with the holy names and its or I should say his mysteries. And today we'll be doing the second part of it, which is the journey, because in a sense we are all assembled here so that we know what we are actually committing to in life. There is a reason why we all are here. We have some faith, and that the absolute truth is right here, and it's a journey that we are undertaking. We are spending a lot of time, we are spending a lot of effort, so we should know what we are subscribing to, as well as how to best subscribe to. And so in any journey there are broadly we can say 3 steps. Like suppose we want to go from here New York to Boston. So we know that there is a source, that is where currently we are, and we know there is a destination, that is where we want to be, and we know that there is a path that connects both the source and the destination. So the 3 steps, in a sense, we can correspond them to sambandha, or where am I in relation to where I want to be. Abhideya, how do I get there, the actual navigation, which is the sadhana or the path, the journey that we undertake. And the prayojana, what is the destination and what does it mean to be at the destination. That's the sadhya or prema in case of bhakti. So we are all continuing the path of bhakti, and the destination is prema. And why is it a worthy destination, or what we will feel when we get there, we'll see. So in a nutshell, the famous verse that is described, Madhurya Kadambini mentions that Adau Shraddha Tatas Sadhu Sangota Bhajana Kriya Tato Anartha Nivrittasya Tato Nishtha Ruchis Tatha Ata Shaktis Tato Bhavas Tatah Prema Abhyudhanchati Sadhakana Mayam Premna Pradur Bhave Bhavet Krama. So Adau Shraddha, in the beginning there is faith. There is some faith. There is something we think that this is useful enough to spend our time and energy on, pay attention. And so this path. Tata sadhu sangha. Okay, fine, we have some faith. What do we do with it? We act upon it by taking some initiative to go meet people who share the similar faith and see how the journey goes thereafter. So sadhu sangha is the association of the devotees. And what happens there? What happens there is atha bhajana kriya. What happens there is the activities of bhakti are performed. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjoshanadashvapavargavartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. So this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which says what happens in the association of devotees. Satam prasangat. So from the association of devotees, mama virya samvido, the fully potent topics of mine, Krishna's topics that are being described. Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha. So what kind of katha is this? This is a katha that invokes rasayana, or we can say pleasure, in where both the karna as well as the hrid, both feels very pleasurable to the heart as well as to the ears. Tad joshanad ashvapavargavartmani. By cultivating this attitude of associating with devotees and hearing about Krishna, what happens? Apavargavartmani is the path of apavarga, or the spiritual path. Immediately one gets redirected to that path. Ashu is quickly one gets redirected to the path. And what happens thereafter? Shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. We had some Shraddha to begin with, but it gets fortified. Shraddha, rati or bhava, and bhakti, which is prema, bhakti. So in that anukramishati, in that sequence, it arises in our hearts. So that is what is being described here. And this is the path, this is the journey in a nutshell. Now, I think the font is too small, even, but you all can read, right? Or okay. So, some devotees had asked me to summarize the previous lecture as well, and so I have interspersed it through different slides here. So previously we saw that how the Atma, that is who we are, the particle of consciousness, you can say in a sense, are covered by different layers. The most fundamental of which is known as Chitta. And from this Chitta, it's like a water body, or it's like a mirror, we can say. And when invested in that Chitta, so if the Chitta is polluted by the material circumstances, then the Atma misidentifies itself with something which it is not. So that misidentification is Ahankara. And this is discussed in detail in Bhagavatam, where Chitta is a product of the Mahat Tattva and localized within the individual. And from there comes the Ahankara when this Mahat Tattva is transformed by predominance of Rajas, Rajoguna. So Chitta is predominantly when the Mahat Tattva is in Sattva Guna, and then when Mahat Tattva transforms into Rajoguna, then Ahankara results in it, the misidentification with the contents of the Chitta. So Chitta is like a screen also, we can think of it like that. And what happens thereafter is from the Ahankara in the Sattva Guna. So I'm going into a little bit of detail, but you don't have to worry if you don't grasp all of it. It's just, just get the gist of it. So from the Ahankara in Sattva Guna arise the mind and the sense devatas. So the manas arises when this Ahankara is infused with Sattva Guna. And the devatas, they also arise from this. And when the Ahankara is infused with Rajoguna, then Buddhi arises. And also the Indriyas, the 5 Gyanendriyas and Karmendriyas. Gyanendriyas gather knowledge, Karmendriyas help us do work. And the Ahankara in Tamoguna, it results in the Tanmatras and the Mahabhutas or the Panchabhutas. So Tanmatras are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Matra just means we can think of it as a marker. And what is being marked or what is being signified. Tan matra, tat matra, or like whose matra they are the markers of the different elements. For example, how do we measure the ability of the ear? By hearing. By hearing what? The sound. Therefore, sound marks the sound is used to evaluate the sense of hearing, or we can say the sense of hearing is what is being evaluated by the sound. So that way, Shabda is the sense of hearing, and all these are senses. That's why they are described as senses. Shabda, and Rasa is the sense of taste. Shabda, Rasa, Rupa is the sense of sight, and Sparsha is the sense of touch, and Gandha is the sense of smell or fragrance. So all these are associating with the respective elements to give us the experience that we undergo in our day-to-day lives. Now what happens is, this Chitta in its pure state is clear like a mirror. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And what does the mirror show? It shows how we look, right? So who we are is seen in the mirror of the Chitta. And that can only happen when this Chitta is steady, or in Sattva Guna. In Sattva Guna there is illumination. You can actually see things as they are. When this Chitta is contaminated by movement, by Rajas. Rajoguna Shakti is, things are moving. And when the chitta is contaminated by that, why contaminated? Because when the water flows, we cannot see the reflection clearly. It gets kind of distorted. Or when the water becomes opaque by adding pollutants to it, then also it doesn't reflect the light. Therefore, the tamasic or the rajasic influence on the chitta is what makes us identify with the wrong things. Otherwise, we can actually identify with who we are in our constitutional position, who we are, the spiritual spark, the Atma. And then from there we can infer the presence of Paramatma. This is explained by Kapila as well as in the, so we'll not digress there, I'll try. So yoga, this is why Patanjali says the definition of yoga is yogas chitta vritti nirodha. The chitta vrittis, or the waves of the chitta, or the waves of the water like chitta, they have to be steadied or controlled, and the stillness has to be achieved. That is what is defined as yoga. And after achieving the stillness, we can see what we are as we are. And that is why we bother to steady the chitta without trying to engage it into material world. And now, we already saw some of these points. How do we do this? There are several paths to do this, just the cleansing of the chitta alone. And the jnana paths, like going into a solitary place or into the forest, meditating for years together, that is one way to do it. And except that doesn't sound too practical, does it? And therefore it is very easy on the path of bhakti, because bhakti carries the shakti of Ladini and the Samvit Shakti of Krishna as well. And that way we can take help of bhakti to cleanse, not only cleanse the chitta, but also awaken our constitutional position. And this is possible when the bhakti is nishtita or nishtha bhakti. Today morning we were discussing about how the mist or fog, as well as the clouds, they cover our consciousness to be able to perceive the absolute truth, which is like the sun. And to dispel these clouds or fog, it's usually done by the wind, we can say, or actually it is coming from the sun's potency itself. It's a transformation of the sun's potency, and the fire, the heat potency can dispel it. Therefore, when we do nishtha bhakti, nishtha is also compared to fire. So in the presence of fire, the impurities get sorted out, and that way the nishtha bhakti helps, by regularly doing it, it helps subside all the rajas and tamas. And so that's why when we read tada rajas tamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye chetayetairana viddham sthitam satve prasidati. So when we do nishtha bhakti, then the rajas and tamas, all the mist, the fog, the clouds, they slowly start to disappear. And then what we see the beautiful sunlight of Krishna's presence in our lives. And then there are two things that happen. So one is, when the living entity is oriented toward this water body, the chitta, the living entity perceives everything through reflections. When the chitta is pure also, the pure chitta is described by, I think, both Jiva Goswami as well as Sridhar Swami, that it has the property of Bhagavad Bimba Grahitvam, or it can actually reflect the supreme reality. So when the chitta is pure, it can reflect the supreme reality without any distortion. So that is one way of knowing the supreme reality exists and ourselves in relation to it. So this is also, so when we see the mirror, first we see ourselves, right? And then when we think of ourselves, then we start thinking of who are all connected to us, what all we need to do, all those things. So this is called Anyartascha Paramarsha in Vedanta Sutra. And what it means is the references that we use are there to indicate some other esoteric meaning. In this case, when we see the mirror, we see ourselves, a reflection of ourselves rather, and that helps us infer that this spark of light, consciousness, must be coming from somewhere. And then we start seeing us in relation to the reality around us, the spiritual reality around us. Then we see Krishna's divine hand in whichever form, constitutionally we are involved. So therefore it is important to keep the chitta clean, because that can show us a reflection of exactly who we are without distortions or inaccuracies. So this is one way, by getting purified step by step by looking at the water and then realizing who we are. And on the other hand, we can actually just look backward, in the sense, look upward or forward, right? Whichever direction you think. So basically looking in the reverse direction. Then you can see that actually there is the sun. You don't need to go through the mirror after all. So that stage is what is the you can say it is direct spiritual perception. And that is when the devotee has completely detached themselves from this chitta, knowing that it doesn't belong to the permanent reality or eternal reality. And so actually what happens is, when the Atma is in proximity to the chitta, this chitta is like a whole shiny layer that is covering. It is described as Hiranmayam Mahattattvam. So it is shining. Why is it shining? Because the Atma is inside. The soul, the spark of consciousness is there. It's illuminating. It's completely like engulfing the darkness around. So because of the presence of the Atma, the chitta is illuminating, as well as it assumes ownership. So it appears like chitta is another entity that is starting to act. So the chitta possesses the Atma, and the Atma is actually possessed by the chitta, in the sense of the doership and everything in the material world arise from there. So that's why Krishna says Karya Karana Kartritva Hetur Prakritiruchyate Purusha Sukha Dukkanam Bhoktrutve Heturuchyate, he says. So the Karya, Karana and Kartritva, the doership, the instrumentship or whatever, the ability for to perceive and act, the instruments, and Karyatva, the actual effect. All of this belong to Prakriti, because Chitta belongs to Prakriti, not the Purusha or the Atma. Because of this, when the Chitta is taking the ownership, it starts acting on its own. And when the Chitta is steadied, then the Atma says, okay, this is not me. This is just a reflection of me. The moment that the realization sets in, the possessorship is withdrawn from the Chitta back into the Atma. That's when actually the Atma has nothing to do with the material reality, and was just invested in it by its own free will, in a sense. Because Kapila describes that the Atma is also like a sun, and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments that it's actually like the kirana of the sun, or like part of the sun, we can say, like a small sun grain, for lack of better word. So, and when that gets reflected, that is how we start assuming the contents of the water to actually be in the self, or in other words, the contents of the mirror to be looking how we look. So if the mirror has dirt on it, we start assuming that it's actually us who are dirty, which is not the case. That's what Kapila is explaining, because the Atma is purely spiritual, has nothing to do with material reality, except that we have chosen the material reality. And that choice is withdrawn when we disinvest from the Chitta. And at that point, the Atma has the ability to either do Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha again, which is, to pay attention to the Chitta and then forward propagate it to all the other, Ahankar and the whole material evolution. Or the Atma can decide to actually turn back and look at Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan, or the spiritual reality. So that way, both paths are coexistent. One is, looking at the reflection and understanding who we are, and then understanding that we are not the reflection, and the water is just a medium, that we are not that either. And then when we withdraw that possessorship, or possessive, I don't know what's the word, possessiveness. Yeah, when we withdraw that possessiveness, then we actually can look at ourselves in relation to the spiritual reality that we belong to. So this is the whole esoteric meaning behind how the jiva is engulfed by Prakriti, by the choice of the jiva as well. And this we discussed parts of it in the last time, but this is a more coherent picture, I think, I hope. Now, because we can do it by bhakti, and the very easiest way of doing it in bhakti is through nama. And we saw previously how the mantras and the other, like whether it is karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti, all of those require more stringent rules to be followed, to be observed. And even for doing the mantras or doing the worship, everything, we need diksha. And diksha also, we saw that di is divyam jnanam, and that is what we get from the guru. Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasha date divya gyan hriday prakashito. So the divya gyan is coming from the guru, and ksha is papasya sankshayam. So the bad karmas, or the material karmas, they are all getting destroyed completely, and that is papasya sankshaya. This happens by diksha. This is the real import of what diksha means. And of course, we need diksha, we need rules, we need mantras to be able to do the kriya that we do in bhakti. But in bhajana kriya, which includes all the other kriyas that we do in bhakti, the best in a sense is considered the nama. And this is also mentioned by Mahaprabhu. We'll see eventually that. And in Sankirtana, which is meant for this age, krite dhyayato Vishnu tretayam yajato make dwapare paricharyayam kalau tad hari kirtanat. So of course, the Vishnu Dutas in Bharat Bhagavatamrita describe how among all the forms of kirtan, Sankirtana is the best. And we saw the meaning of Sankirtana this morning is, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is Sarvato Bhavena Kirtana. And having there are two ways to interpret this, and in both ways it gives the similar sense. So Sarvataha Bhavena Kirtana or Sarvataha Abhavena Kirtana. So both, actually the sandhi would be Sarvato Bhavena Kirtana. And in one case, it is chanting with the complete bhava, or with we can say with the complete feeling, with the genuine prayerful sincere mood. And the other case, what is abhava, what is absent, is there are no obstructions and there are no offenses in such a chanting. So in the Sankirtana, without any obstruction or offense, that is the Sarvataha Abhavena kirtana. So, and among these forms of, this Sankirtana itself, there are many Sankirtanas. For example, there is Nama, Guna, Rupa and Leela. There can be Sankirtana about all of these things as well. And among these, it is described that Nama Sankirtana is the best because it reveals every other Sankirtana also in the process. So, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. So, all of this will be revealed in that order. And now, because of this, Nama is extremely important. And also, we will see that there is no qualification that is necessary to take Nama other than one, which last time we said it is going to be a quiz question. So the answer to that is it's faith. So faith is what is essential. That's why Adav Shraddha. There is Shraddha in between, like in the beginning. And because of that, the Nama is taken. It's kind of obvious in a sense. Without Shraddha, nobody is going to take Nama if you don't believe in it, if you don't have faith. But it better be said because that is the prerequisite. And now, what are the types of Nama? Okay, fine, chant Nama, like we chant Hare Krishna. So why are we not saying Krishna? Why are we not saying, like of course we are saying Krishna in the form of his deity because he has chosen to appear in a way that we can see him. But why not see the Krishna in the spiritual form, and why not we see our spiritual position, everything? In Nama, it should be easy, right? We just take Nama, every day we do. So there it is described that Shuddha Nama is what gives the prema. And there is Abhasa Nama or the Nama Abhas, which is compared to either a dim light of the holy name reaching us because of the clouds or mist in between, or a distorted reflection of the Shuddha Nama of the sun falling on the distorted chitta that we discussed. So because of Rajas and Tamas, and therefore the reflection does not carry the same characteristics of the sun or the Shuddha Nama. It carries the distorted characteristics. Therefore, only a portion of the effect of the Shuddha Nama is observed in both cases. And here it is described that what is this ignorance? The ignorance is about what is the Sambandha Jnana. And we saw that it is the first of the three components of the journey, the Sambandha. And what is this Sambandha about? First we should know who we are, Swa, and then we should know who Krishna is, Para, and we should know what is the process to reach, which is the sadhana, and we should know where, what does that result in, which is prema. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes these four are the things that one needs to know about to be able to perform their bhakti properly. And therefore we discuss about what Jiva is in relation to who Krishna is, and what is the connection, or how do we make one, or like so, and then all any obstacles along the path, and what does it feel like when we get there. So all these are the discussions about the Sambandha Jnana, which is required to remove this mist of ignorance that has arisen in the jiva. And there is also anarthas other than this, the obstructions. So just having knowledge alone, is it enough? Not necessarily, because knowledge it comes along the way also, but it's not necessarily the goal, because it's a means to do something with the knowledge. Let's say, like we have knowledge, we do a lot of theoretical discussions, but if it doesn't result in the transformation of heart, it's just theory. And or one has to contemplate on that and make it part of their dhyana and then progress forward. So therefore knowledge in itself is a means, but not necessarily the end. And what else is there other than knowledge? There are also blockages. What kind of blockages? These are not just arising from not knowing, but from our swabhava. For example, the thirst for material objects, Vishaya Asakti, it is coming from the past samskaras that we have been instilled during our past lives or during the past times of this life. And next is the weakness of heart or Hridaya Daurbalyam, which is we know that this is the right thing to do, we simply don't have the strength to do it. So that is Hridaya Daurbalyam. And the third is Aparadha. So this is also one of the very important things that blocks the progress along the path of getting to either Prema or Shuddha Nama, which is in the journey of Nama. Our goal is Shuddha Nama, which gives Prema, and the easiest way to Prema. And Aparadha is actually classified into 4 types. There is Seva Aparadha, Nam Aparadha, Vaishnava Aparadha, in a sense that is also included in Nam Aparadha, and Jiva Aparadha. So one should not perform aparadhas or offenses toward the object of one's service, like the devotees, the Guru and the Supreme Lord. And Nama Aparadhas, there is an extensive discussion on what Nama Aparadhas are and how do we overcome. We'll get to that. And there is Vaishnava Aparadha, which is offending the Vaishnavas. We should understand that Vaishnavas are always important in our lives, whether we are doing sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi bhakti or Raghanuga bhakti, or we have attained Siddhi, which is Prema. So every time devotees are important, and not just important, indispensable in our lives. Why is that? Because bhakti by its nature has to do with expression of that prema and receiving the prema, and for that to happen you need more than one person. So and therefore it is important that we cultivate good relations with the devotees, and it also helps us with the other things, like when we have thirst for other material objects, Vishaya Sakti, or when we have Hridaya Daurbalyam, the devotees can help us. Therefore we should have that kind of relationships among the devotees in the community. And Aparadha is a very important topic. This is described as, for example, just visualize that the sun, who is, Krishna is there radiating like, much brighter than the sun. And then we are there as the spiritual spark of consciousness. And in between, okay, there is clouds and there is some fog. But what Aparadha does is, it takes the person farther and farther in the opposite direction. So it's no longer just about that we are covered by the mist and the clouds, but we are also progressing in the wrong direction. So of course the jiva can never touch the water because the jiva is transcendental to it. But still, like it goes farther and farther from the destination. Therefore Aparadha, I've heard this hearsay, so don't quote me on that, but it takes us away from Radha, and takes us away from the actual bhakti that we want to get to. And of course, we should note that Radha has Dirgha Akara at the end and Aparadha has Laghu, but still the point is very valid. It takes us away from Radharani and Krishna. So impurity, okay, so Aparadhas are again classified. So this is actually a stage of extreme impurity in chanting and takes us very far from the Shuddha Nama. And what kind of impurity are we talking about? Tattva Vibhrama, or the one where the person is ignorant about what the Sambandha Jnana is. Similar to, like what we had, it's the characteristic of ignorance, and it is also mentioned in Aparadha Nama, other than the Nama Bhasa. And the second way of performing Aparadha is wrong utterance when one does not know. For example, if somebody is chanting the name with the syllables separated, so Hari or Krishna, Rama, So this is the normal, if and then so those kind of, but it is considered not a big aparadha, because Krishna actually sees the bhava of the devotee, and the devotee does not take advantage of that. The devotee strives for the right pronunciation, for the right attitude and everything. So therefore that kind of an impurity in utterance is minor compared to the impurity that is arising through ignorance or sambandha, of sambandha jnana. And nama abhasa. So we were discussing about nama abhasa only, and here it is also categorized into two categories in Harinama Chintamani. Haridas Thakur is describing that one is due to ashraddha, or somebody is not having the faith really that okay, this is Krishna and so on. They just say, okay, this is just like any other name. Oh, so what's the big deal about it? So, and Ajamila, for example, I mean, most of you may be knowing who he is, but basically he was a devotee, and in between he falls down from his devotional standards, and he becomes engaged in sinful activities, and toward the end of life he is no longer remembering Krishna, his devotional life, but he remembers his son whom he named as Narayana, and because of that he calls Narayana, thinking of his son. So he is indicating the name of he is pronouncing the name of the Lord, but is indicating someone else by that. This is called Sanketa, or Sanketa actually. I think there's a typo here. So Sanketa is indicating, or Sanketa is also indicating. And this is one of the forms of Ashraddha Namabhas. So which is, there is no Shraddha, and at the same time you are not the person is not even designating the Lord despite taking his name. And other is Parihasa, making fun, or Stobha is taking it, actually it is also disrespectful, but it's taunting and things like that. And Hela or Helena is disrespectful as well. So all these stages are in the progressive order, the better to the worse. For example, Sanketa is considered best in Ashraddha Namabhas, and Helena or Hela is considered worst in Ashraddha Namabhas. And when there is Shraddha, there is genuine faith, but still the mist and the clouds are present. And there are two stages to this. So I don't want to delve into all the details here, but just enough to know that the Pratibimba in this case is, the analogy is slightly different here. The Pratibimba here is describing those who don't have a genuine attitude, or those who are Mayavadis, in the sense they do not want to serve Krishna, but they want to enjoy by becoming Krishna. So that is, all those categories are mentioned here. Therefore, they are not able to actually take shelter of the Nama. They want to be the Nama. So therefore, those kind of ideas which are concocted, they are reflecting the pure name in that concocted chitta, or that consciousness, and back to the Atma. Therefore, that is not giving the effect of the Shuddha Nama. But what does it give? It gives Mukti Abhasa as well, because it's Abhasa. So it's also giving Mukti Abhasa. It gives a situation like Mukti, where the person is, has attained the Brahman, but then not permanently situated there. So therefore they again are coming back to realize their Swarupa. So we see that Brahman in the sense here, it could be just referring to the Jivan Mukta stage, where the person has attained their individuality as separated from the Chitta, but again falling back in there because there is nothing to hold on to that is satisfying. And the other is chaya, or the obstructions. There is some obstruction, but the faith is there, it is dim. And but this is considered the better form of Shraddha Nama Bhasa. So having chaya, like some faith, but being genuine, and not coming up with concocted name meanings to the holy name or to the goal. So that is the chaya nama bhasa. And the remedy is simple here, in the sense we know that it's due to ignorance. How do you overcome ignorance? By knowledge. Therefore the remedy for that avidya is sambandha jnana again. And where do we get that from? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. So this is how one must approach a guru. Tadvidhi pranipatena, with due respect, pariprashnena sevaya, and rendering service to them, asking questions from them. Upadekshanti te jnanam. And when they are pleased with the disciple, or they believe the disciple is worthy of knowledge, they give the knowledge. Upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. And how are they able to do that? Because they have already realized that tattvadarshi, they are tattvadarshis because of that. And the continued chanting, so this is also mentioned, the one is not able to perform the chanting purely. Then what is the remedy? The remedy is also to continue to chant, but one must have genuinity in their faith. If the faith is already, like, if there is any notion of cheating tendency or obsession with material attachment or some perversion and those kind of things, it is mentioned that even if somebody may chant for many years, still it will not bear the intended fruit. And therefore it's important to be genuine. It's understood that many of us are here because there is some fallen nature, there is a swabhava that is material, and therefore we must develop that acceptance, feel humble, but genuinely take shelter of the name and proceed with the journey. As long as we are under the shower, even if there may be any impurities, they will only get cleaned. It's just a matter of time. So we just need to stick to the process, and that is important. Now we come back to the map that we showed, which is we have a source, we have a destination, and there is a path that's connecting both. And initially, Ado Shraddha, that's where we stand. There is some Shraddha. And how does this Shraddha come? This also we discussed a little bit in the last time, but also there is a separate session that was taken on this, about from faith in logic to faith beyond logic. So the whole session was about Shraddha. How all of us have faith, we repose somewhere or the other, but to repose in the absolute truth, that is what is necessary for spiritual progress. And so this arises by good fortune, it is described, and it is also described it arises by one's desire, because there has to be some desire in the past sometime that Krishna reciprocates with the desire. Yo yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya architum icchati tasya achalam shraddha tameva vidadamyaham, Krishna says. Whichever form one is desiring, icchati, tasya achalam shraddha, that steady faith, tameva vidadamyaham, I give that, Krishna is saying. So it's important to recognize that whether one got faith through the desire, or it just happened that we were at an airport and then some devotee started distributing books, or suddenly we were just not looking for spirituality or anything, but maybe we just wanted to see intellectually, we wanted to analyze and see who are these people, why are they spending so much time on this path. So maybe according to that also. So that is good fortune. Why is it good fortune? Because it was unexpected, there was no desire involved, and it's Krishna's hand. So how the candidate meets with the devotees. And where does this Shraddha lie? Sattvanurupa sarvasya Shraddha bhavati bharata Shraddha mayam purusha yo yat shraddhasya eva sa. So Krishna says that Shraddha is residing in Sattva, Sattva Anurupa. And what is this Sattva? Sattva is actually described as the Chitta or the Buddhi. Because the word Shraddha, it is split as Shrat and Dha. Dha is, dharana, to hold, to sustain. And Shraddh is the absolute truth, or, Sat, Shraddh. So, Shrat is the Vedic term for Sat. And to hold the truth. See, let's say, light is falling in your home, but, you have closed the window. So there is no ability to hold the light, or, to hold the grace, whether the analogy is to light or to water. If somebody, if you are going in a desert and somebody is giving water, but you have no container and they don't let you borrow theirs, then, that's not helpful. So we need to have the ability to hold. And the ability to hold is what is coming from Shrat Dha, to hold the light in this case, or to. So therefore, this is coming from the Chitta or Buddhi, the material realm, Sattva Anurupa. So it is according to the state of the Chitta, according to the state of the Antakarana or internal instruments, one has a particular faith. And the faith evolves gradually based on what impressions we are taking in the Chitta. So now the Antakaranas or internal apparatus is mentioned to be of 4 kinds in Bhagavatam. There is Chitta, there is Ahankara, there is Buddhi, and then there is Manas. Now, first let me mention and then I'll tell the exception. So, Chitta, we can think of it, is the place which stores all the impressions. So now, we are seeing things, we are seeing people, or, we are seeing Krishna. So those impressions, they first, the consciousness travels outward. So if I don't pay attention, even if I am seeing, I am not seeing. Pashyan apina pashyati. And then when I pay attention, what do I do? My sense of sight, or the the tanmatra, the sight, is going outside, grabbing the object, bringing it back. So this is the Sankhya's way of explaining how perception works. So we usually say that, okay, light is reflecting, and then, we are reading on our retina, and then we are interpreting everything. So this is the modern scientific explanation. And Sankhya's terminology explanation is the consciousness travels outward. You pay attention to the object of your choice, and then you grasp the object through this exercise, and the senses, they relate over to the mind. The manas, that's why Krishna says, among the senses I am the mind. Manas shashtan indriyani. So the mind is the center, and mind is described as ubhayatmika. It is both, it can act as well as it can know. Both. All the senses, usually they do only one or the other. Either it's a karmendriya or it's a jnanendriya. It can either receive knowledge or it can do action. But mind does both. It's ubhayatmika. So mind takes the inputs from the senses, and it starts to recognize that there is, a form to it, and this form actually, this is, my friend. So, and this is my enemy. So this notion of like and dislike is from the mind. Sankalpa vikalpa abhyam, kama sambhava. So these are the properties that are associated with the mind. The mind can accept because it finds it favorable, or it can reject because it finds it unfavorable. But what is the basis? The basis is ahankara. The ahankara decides, this is me, this is not me. I am this, I am that, not that. Based on this, the mind functions in servitude to the ahankara. Therefore, the ahankara is what is driving this whole mechanism in a sense. And the ahankara, when it receives the input from the mind, it says, oh, no, this is not good, this is good for you. But actually the decisions are made by buddhi. So buddhi is what makes the decisions, but in conjunction with the ahankara. So both buddhi as well as manas work for the ahankara in a sense. And therefore, when the ahankara is misdirected, the person can go to any length to justify their either, it could be view or it could be action. So whatever it is. So the person can justify that because it is driven by the ahankara. And what is this chitta doing here? It is the mind that takes the impressions. Based on the impressions, the ahankara works. Therefore, samskaras are important because, as Vaisheshika Prabhuji says, samskars, right? And it can create the markings on the chitta. And once the markings are done, the markings are made, the ahankara reads those markings and thinks that, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Therefore, let me, act on this, ignore those, or take revenge on those. So these are all the notions of the ahankara based on the storage. So the storage is the, chitta, smriti. Buddhi is also described sometimes interchangeably with chitta. But the difference is, there is a buddhi that is below the manas. This is described in Bhagavatam. And then there is a buddhi that is above the manas, which is chitta, described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Where does it say? Indriyani paranya hur indrebhyah param mana manasastu para buddhiryo buddhe paratastu saha. He says that Indriyani paranyahu indrebhyah param mana. The manas is beyond the indriyas, karma indriyas, jnana indriyas. Manasastu para buddhir. Beyond the manas is the buddhi. Yo buddhe paratastu saha. Beyond the buddhi is who you are. So that buddhi is actually referring to what we call as the chitta. And Bhagavatam says actually there is no solid distinction between all this because lakshate bheda. The difference is based on their characteristics and not so much on, a physical sense of solidity. It's not like physical objects which are distinct, concrete, but it's more a functional classification than a physical classification. And now, with this understanding, the buddhi is able to control the manas. The buddhi, which is the chitta, higher to the manas, that can actually control the manas. And the buddhi, which is described lower, that works for the manas. So it helps recognize, object recognition. So all those analysis is done to decide that, okay, that looks like a mat, and this looks like this. Otherwise, it's just pixels, right? It's just pixels at the end of the day. But the making sense part of it is done by buddhi. And after making sense, whether you like it or not is decided by the manas in conjunction with the ahankar. And what to do about it is decided by the buddhi as well, which is depending on which stage of realization one is. It could be just driven by the mind, or it could be driving the mind. It is above both the manas as well as the ahankar. Chitta is actually above that because that is where all the transformations begin from. So that is the root buddhi, mula buddhi. And so therefore this sequence is important to understand so that we know what we are doing in this world, what kind of impressions we take from it, how does it affect us. We just take things for granted so much. Okay, I scroll through social media. Oh, fine. They're just impressions, right? But see how the impressions are playing out, because they leave a mark on the chitta, and then they are revisited even when we may be sleeping, showing up as in the form of dreams and everything. So therefore, it's important to keep the chitta clean by sadhana. That's why all the saints and rishis in the ancient times, as soon as they wake up in the morning, they would not go look at their Instagram. They would do their sadhana. And internally one has to be purified, and making oneself qualified internally, one can go interact with the world outside. Janma sarthaka kari karo paropakar. So first we make ourselves eligible to be able to do some good for the world at large. If we ourselves are disturbed, that's what we can share with the rest. If we ourselves are at peace and ease, that's what we share with the rest. Therefore, it's important to work on oneself before working on the world. Yes. Yes. So in the, yeah. So this is mentioned, so the question is for the online audience, where is it mentioned in Bhagavatam that the buddhi is below the mind? So this is from how the ahankara is transforming. So ahankara first in the sattva guna transforms into manas and the devatas, and then in rajoguna it transforms into buddhi and the indriyas. Therefore, because the manas is coming first, it is taken that that manas is above, and then the buddhi that is coming next is taken to be below, because that's the sequence that's being described. Chitta first, then ahankara, then the transformations of ahankara first in sattva and then in rajas and then in tamas. That way it is mentioned that buddhi, which is the buddhi of rajas, is coming and working for the manas. That's how it is taken. And the other buddhi, the pure or purified buddhi, is what Krishna is referring to in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, terminologies may be slightly different here and there, but you get the idea that when you see an object, you process it. That process also requires intelligence. So you don't recognize pixels. You see that, for example, Adidas is written there. You actually perceive the meaning behind the content. So that whole processing requires intelligence. So that is done by the buddhi before the layer of the manas. And then the manas, okay, understands, now should I work with it or not, what should I do? The decision, final decision is coming from buddhi as well. So it is described in Sankhya Karika that adhyavasaya buddhi jnanam viraga aishwaryam satvikam etad rupam tamasam tad viparyayam. So there the buddhi that is described is chitta, because it says satvikam etad rupam, and then when it is exposed to tamas, then it becomes something else. So therefore sometimes buddhis and chitta are used interchangeably, and Sridhar Swami also mentions this, if I remember it right. He says chitta buddhi abhedayor nirdeshaha. So he says this in one of the commentaries to the third canto of Bhagavatam. In one of the verse commentaries he mentions this. So that way chitta is sometimes referred to as buddhi as well. Now adhyavasaya is determination. So Krishna says, how do you control the mind? He says asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigrahas chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena jagrihyate. So he says two things that are important to control the mind: abhyasa and vairagya. So vairagya, detachment, is also characteristic of the buddhi. This is mentioned in Sankhya Karika. And Shraddha, the ability to hold, determination, that is also characteristic of buddhi. So that's why when Krishna is saying sattvanurupa sarvasya, this sattva is referring to the chitta, that buddhi at that level, because it has the ability to grasp. When the light is coming or when the water is coming, we should have the ability to grasp and hold it. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I mean, it does matter, but not in the way we want. So that way, it's important that we develop Shraddha so that we can hold when Krishna is giving his mercy, and we reciprocate with that and move forward in life. So the whole exercise we went through right now is to illustrate how the body is like a machine. yantrarudhani mayaya. The body is a complex machine, and the Atma, the consciousness, is what is not matter but beyond matter, and it is actually witnessing this whole game that's going on, a whole drama. So this is what the Atma is witnessing. That's why in Kathopanishad, the Ratha Kalpana, or the analogy of the chariot, it's mentioned how the Atma is sitting in the chariot and the Buddhi is the charioteer and the rope is the mind, and the Indriyas are the horses, the senses are the horses. Therefore, if you see in that analogy, the passenger is not doing anything other than looking here and there. Similarly is the Atma. That does not, it can give attention, pay attention. Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsaha. So the Atma pays attention, and wherever it pays attention to, that's what it gets invested into, caught into. Therefore, it's important to pay attention to the right things in life. And this is what the import of discussing how the whole material mechanism works. Now, once we understand how a machine works, that's not the end, that's the means. We want to do something with the machine. And you wanted to ask something? No? Okay. So, this to illustrate Shraddha, we discussed so much. But what do we want to do after we have some Shraddha? Then is Sadhu Sangha. So in Sadhu Sangha, we use this machine of the mind body, and then we go to Sadhu Sangha so that we hear about Krishna, we hear about his Shaktis, we hear about the Leelas. So all these things. And what happens by that? One actually gets inspired. They go take shelter of a particular guru, for example, or they learn Sambandha Jnana from that. So basically they progress further in their understanding and also faith. And this leads to what? Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya is what we do in the Bhakti Kriya, the activities of Bhakti, which are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. The 9 limbs of Bhakti as described by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam, listening to Katha. Kirtanam, speaking about Krishna, glorifying him, the actual doing the Katha. And Vishnu Smaranam, remembering the Lord. Because these other things we can see externally. Smaranam we cannot see externally. It just is who you are, what you meditate on. Only you and Krishna will know. Nobody else will. Vishnu Smaranam. Pada Sevanam, those who are doing deity worship or like having deities at home, massaging the feet of the Lord. Archanam. Archanam is doing the worship. Vandanam, offering respects to the deities, offering obeisances. Dasyam, in the spirit of servitude, doing various services for the devotees and the deities. Sakhyam is cultivating that favorable attitude with the Lord. And Atmanivedanam is surrendering. So we will move a little bit fast now because I think we only have 30 minutes. So in Bhajana Kriya, initially there is Anishtita stage. Anishtita, I think the font is very small, so let me just read. Anishtita manifests in 5 stages. Anishtita is, there is no nishtha in bhakti, there is no regularity. It's irregular. When I feel like, then I will do it, otherwise, some other time. So it is, initially it's Utsahamayi. We come to the temple first. Oh my God, this is like a new world altogether. I have never experienced anything like this. So that is, that is good. It's enthusiasm, but it is described as false enthusiasm only because it's not permanent. It's temporary enthusiasm. And Ghanatarala, or sporadic endeavor. So sometimes we feel like doing it, sometimes we feel lazy, we take it easy. And next is Vyuda Vikalpa. So indecision, whether I should go to temple or not, whether I should renounce something or not. So all indecision. So buddhi is stuck. Struggle with Maya, Vishaya Sangara. So this is there is a battle with Maya. Always, we have to make choices every moment of our life, in a sense. So whether we are getting stuck with our material side, or whether we are able to transcend that. That's our ongoing mm, mm, struggle, tussle with Maya. And then inability to uphold the vows, niyama kshama. So we have taken some vows. We want to do some things in life. We believed they are the right things to do in life. So we went for them. But then one day we find, oh, I don't have strength to do it, my inability or my circumstances. So that is niyama kshama. And next is enjoying the waves, taranga rangini. So bhakti is actually very pure, and bhakti is very potent as well. So there is it has a lot of power, or she has a lot of power, as well as she is completely pure. Because of that, what happens is, once you start practicing bhakti, you understand things, then you start speaking them to others, then others will say, oh, you know so much, and then, oh, you're so nice, all these things. So once these things get into the head, then one is actually going into the waves of chitta again. They are just enjoying the waves. It feels good for a while, until you realize that actually it's it was temporary, and Krishna gave it for a purpose, and then he took it back. So enjoying the waves, and because of that enjoyment, one is getting stuck in the ahankara again. They are actually not progressing in bhakti. Externally it may appear like, okay, they are doing things, but this is important, and these things lead to anishtita bhajana kriya, or inability to spiritually progress consistently. And the solution is described that utsaha nishchayat dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadvir bhaktir prasidhyati. So how one can cross over this stage is by always maintaining utsaha, nishchaya and dhairya. What are these? Utsaha is enthusiasm, nishchaya is determination, and dhairya is patience. So all these things have to be maintained. But then this seem like opposite. So are we trying to just going to artificially push ourselves? Not necessarily, because when this work in relation to the holy names, when we try ourselves to engage in the nama japa, automatically by enthusiastically, determinedly and patiently just taking shelter of nama alone, the moods, the enthusiasm levels for everything else in bhakti will also change. So that's the reason why it's a solution. And with this, I'm going to continue where we left off previously, which was, we did the Shikshashtakam verse number 1 in the last session. And there we saw how the holy name is so potent. So many things are manifesting from the holy name. Chetodarpanam Arjanam, the chitta, which is so difficult to control. Arjuna is saying that I can't control my mind. Krishna is saying, use buddhi and do abhyasa and vairagya to control. And then this chitta, that's such a difficult thing. And like so many sages are discussing this. Nama is saying that I will just clean it off. Chetodarpanam Arjanam pravishta karna randhrena swanam bhava saroruham dunoti shamalam Krishna shalilasya yatha sharat. Because, and why is it so easy for Nama? Because Krishna is entering through the ears and he is doing the job for us. So it's actually kind of sad that we are having to request Krishna, please come clean my heart. But we don't, when we take shelter of Nama, that's what is happening. So we don't actually rely on anyone else but Krishna. Not that we are asking for something material, but just so that we can serve him better. So that is the desire, and therefore it's not condemned. And Chetodarpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. It can extinguish the fire of material existence. So it's scorching heat that we get when we go stand in the sun. We can't stand for a long time, and that fire and that heat, it is extinguished by the holy name. It is the soothing moonlight like feeling. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, the blossoming the lotus which blossoms with moonlight. So Vidya Vadu Jivanam. So it is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. There are many quotations on this, but without going into the pramana, this is what the verse is saying. Ananda Buddhivartanam. it keeps on increasing in terms of the Ladini Shakti or pleasure potency that the Jiva experiences through the coming in contact with the holy name. It just keeps on increasing. Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purna Amrita Swadanam. Every word is just Amrita or nectar. Purna Amrita Swadanam, tasting nectar. Sarvatma Snapanam. It just bathes everyone in all respects in prema. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So such a Shri Krishna Sankirtana that's all glorious, and it's so rare to get, and that kind of a gift that can actually do everything and beyond. So that is the power of the holy name. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks similarly about his, he says that among Adityas I am Vishnu, among Rudras I am Shankara, and then he says among the letters I am Akara, the beginning. So everything he says, he goes through a whole list that how his vibhutis are there, vibhuti yoga. And then at the end, he says, what is it? Yadyad vibhuti matsarvam Srimad Urjitam evava tattat evava gachatvam mama tejomsha sambhava. He says that all these are nothing but just sparks of my glory, he says. And then why should I even talk of this? With just a small particle of my energy, I sustain this entire universe, he says. So now why I am saying this is, similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning in the first verse that, these are all the great things that the holy name does. And after that, what is he saying? Namna Makari Bahuda. You have so many of them. You have manifested many holy names. Nidha Sarva Shaktis Tatra Arpita. So you have put, what to speak of all these small powers, but you have put all your Shaktis in there. Nidha Sarva Shaktis, the Swarupa Shaktis or the spiritual Shaktis of the Lord, all of them are invested in the Nama. So mantra requires Diksha, doing deity worship requires Diksha, they require rules, Karma Yoga requires rules. If Indrasya Shatru is pronounced wrongly, Indra Shatru, and the Vritrasura, instead of getting the power to kill Indra, he got the power to be killed by Indra. So the Karma Yoga paths are the paths that are where the Karma Kanda worship and all this are done, they have to be done exactly as per the rules. One small change, the effect is different. Kumbhakarna, instead of asking for Nirdevo, he said Nidrevo. And then, instead of getting, being immune to the gods or to the devatas, he became, sleepy. He got Nidra in return. So one small mistake in the karma paths, it's very difficult. And jnana paths, we already know the qualification is very, very stringent. It's very one has to be lifelong celibate, and one has to be able to perform immense tapasya, austerities, and but whereas bhakti and especially nama is very, very easy. And not only is it very, very easy, but also it is most powerful. And that's what Mahaprabhu is mentioning here. Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Arpita. You have invested all the potencies, all the powers into this holy name. And it's so powerful, but if I can't access, what's the use? Fine, big politicians or big entrepreneurs, they are so powerful. But if I am not able to, what does it mean to me really? So, Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha, he says. So there is no rules and restrictions to chant the holy name, nor there is a time like we have to do Sandhya Vandana at a proper time, we have to do the mantras with the proper, even pronunciation, everything has to be proper. But with the holy names, nothing like that. And this is Mahaprabhu himself mentions this in Chaitanya Bhagavata. Murkho vadati Vishnaya, Panditah vadati Vishnave, Ubhayortu samam punyam bhavagrahi janardana, he says. And even if one is mispronouncing the name of Vishnu, so like Murko Vadati Vishnaya, and they think that like Rama or Krishna, the Chaturthi Vibhakti becomes Vishnaya, but then it's grammatically it is Vishnave. But both of them, irrespective of one pronouncing wrong and other pronouncing right, what happens with them? Ubhayor to samam punyam. Both of them get the same result. Why? Because bhava grahi janardana. Because the Lord accepts the bhava of the living being, not necessarily the externality alone. Therefore, he could reject what Duryodhana was offering in Chapan Bhog and went to Vidura's the Vidura's home to eat a small offering, very simple offering. So it's important that we understand the holy names are not just powerful but also merciful. But then Mahaprabhu is mentioning etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrisham iha janina anuraga. Although you are having such mercy that it's not just powerful but also so compassionate, still I don't seem to have any attraction for it. And so that is the misfortune, Durdaivam, that Mahaprabhu is talking about. And why does this misfortune arise? Of course, Mahaprabhu is exemplifying what a sadhaka should feel like when they are doing the bhajana. And he is Krishna himself. So it is more for us that he is giving this mood. And so therefore, he is lamenting that, oh, I don't have enough taste, I don't have enough taste. When we actually feel like that, we see that really, in a sense, the eagerness grows more. When we feel like, okay, if you feel like you already have it, then there is a tendency to take it for granted. But if you feel like, oh, I am so grateful, I have this, but I am not able to do justice to it, then you feel like more impelled to actually make it, more, all the more this one. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is exemplifying the mood of the sadhaka by asking that despite being so glorious, I am not able to have taste for it. And then we discussed some of this previously, so I'm going to skip some of them. But so he says why there is no taste for this? Because these of committing aparadhas, that's why there is no taste. And anartha nivritti, because of having these anarthas and aparadhas. And what is the relation between them? Anarthas or unwanted obstacles can arise from past sins or pious deeds, and or due to present offenses or improper execution of bhakti. So all these can be the reasons for why anarthas arise. And of these, offenses are one of them, and a very important one. Because past sins and pious deeds we cannot control. And sometimes improper things, we may not know about it. But offenses, especially where there is an intention involved, they are very, very severe. And at least we should know what these offenses are. And there's a whole list. This will take a long time, but I will quickly summarize. And so even the aparadhas, we saw that they are in 4 categories. There is Nama Aparadha, there is Seva Aparadha, there is Vaishnava Aparadha, and then there is Jiva Aparadha. So not offending any living entities, Jiva Aparadha. Not offending Vaishnavas is Vaishnava Aparadha. And there is Seva Aparadha. When we are performing Seva, sometimes we may not be following all the rules. Actually, there are so many of them. It's practically, at least personally, I can speak that I am a big failure at that. So, and there are so many aparadhas that may be committed during Seva. But it is mentioned that when we continue the Seva, those things get taken care of. So, and that way, the Seva must be continued. And if somebody corrects, we should be humble enough to accept the correction and move forward. Then the Seva aparadhas get taken care of. But Nama aparadhas, on the other hand, they are very, very severe. And especially in this journey where it has to do everything with the holy names, so Nama aparadha matters all the more. And the first Nama aparadha is Satam Ninda. There are verses for all of that. I don't want to go into it right now. But Satam Ninda is the Ninda of the Sajjana, or like the sadhus. So doing it is like committing Vaishnava Aparadha. And Nama will not forgive such offense, because these devotees have dedicated their lives for the Nama, and they are spreading the glories of the Nama. So you have dedicated yourself to a person, and if I offend such a like a dedicated soul, then why will the other person, the Nama Prabhu, will be happy with me, right? So therefore Satam Ninda has to be avoided. And the other is Shivasya Shri Vishnur Ya ihan gunanamadi sakalam diya bhinnam pashyet sakhalu harinama hitakara. So this is the other important aspect. So to understand the sambandha between Shiva and Vishnu, so it is explained that in one place it is explained that if we see the difference between them, then it's an offense. In other places, our conventional way, we say that when we don't see difference, that is an offense. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses both, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur also discusses one more interpretation of this verse in Bhajan Rahasya. So the understanding is that Vishnu and Shiva are both same and different. And how is it? There is a non-difference aspect and there is a difference aspect. The non-difference aspect is they both are Ishwaras. So Sridhar Swami mentions that Madhavo Madhavisho Sarva Siddhi Vidayino Vande Parasparatmano Paraspara Nutipriyo. He says that Madhava is Vishnu or Krishna. Umadhava, the husband of Uma, is Shiva. So both are Ishwaras, both are Ishwa. In that way they are the same. And at the beginning of creation, it is explained that when Mahavishnu is glancing, due to the desire to create, the Kama Bija or the Kamo Bijam Mahad Hare. This is mentioned in Brahma Samhita 5.8, if I am not mistaken. So there, Krishna's desire is there. So Akamayata mentions Taittiriya Upanishad. And when the Lord had the desire to create, then he glanced at Prakriti. Prakriti was completely in a clear state, just like a clear liquid in a clear vessel. Not even understandable that she exists. And she is so difficult to understand. So therefore she is also described as Durga. So difficult to understand. And when the Lord glanced at her, and she is actually in a sense sister to Krishna, because we see that when in the 8 appearance, one of them is Yogamaya, whose shadow potency is the Mahamaya, the material world. And when the Lord glances at her, the glance is actually a person. This is the Kala Purusha. Tyakta Kalam Shishikshaya, 5.7 explains. And then this Kala Purusha is also described as Niyatisara Madevi Tatpriya Tadvasham Tada Tallingam Bhagavan Shambhur Jyotirupa Sanatana Yayoni Sapara Shaktir Kamo Bijam Mahadhare. Brahma Samhita says. So there it's mentioned that Niyati Ramadevi is his Mahavishnu's pleasure potency, Krishna's pleasure potency. And then Tallingam Bhagavan Shambhur. He says the marker or the glance of the Lord assumes the form of Shambhu. Therefore, some Gaudiya Vaishnavas claim that that Shambhu, Sadashiva, is Vishnu Tattva. And because he is directly, like an expansion of the Lord, and he is engaged with Prakriti. So the Yoni or the Prakriti and the Tallingam Bhagavan Shambhur, the Bhagavan Shiva, they are uniting, and from there the creation further happens. And that's why some people say that the creation is nothing but it's a union of Shiva and Shakti. And those who only see that much, actually Krishna says that they don't have complete understanding in the Bhagavad Gita also. Those who think that this universe is produced of sex desire, they are not complete in their knowledge. Actually the universe is not produced out of sex desire, but the universe is produced because of Kama Bija from Krishna's heart. The Krishna wanted to create. And why did he want to create? Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Because his desire is to provide for the desires of the living beings. Therefore, the Lord desired that the living beings should get a chance. So the living beings, it is mentioned that tal roma bila jaleshu. So tad Roma bila jaleshu, or in from the pores from his skin, or like where the hairs come from. From there the living beings originated. So this Kala and this Jyoti Rupa Bhagavan Shambhu, all of them, they originate from the clans of Mahavishnu, and then they unite with Prakriti, and the Mahat Tattva is produced, which encapsulates the jivas that are coming from the Lord. And because he is shelter of the Naras, he is Narayana, the Ayana of Naras. And that way the jivas also enter into Prakriti, and from there that Mahat Tattva is called as Chitta, which we discussed at the very beginning, and from there the evolution takes place. So, and in this world, so Mahavishnu, it is mentioned, he creates Shambhu from the middle of his eyebrows, and he creates Vishnu from the left side, and he creates Prajapati, Hiranyagarbha, from the right side, who is not Brahma exactly, but these are the initial, the word prototype is used, and these are the initial prototypes who permeate into all the different universes. When the creation happens and the jivas go into all the universes, they appear as the Trimurtis in this world, which is Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. And after this, the Shiva in this world and the Shiva who is Sadashiva, they have the connection, but they are not the same person. That's why Krishna says, among the Rudras, I am Shankara. So he's a special among the Rudras, who is the Lord himself. And therefore, some also say that way, Gopeshwar, Mahadev and others in Vrindavan, they are all actually Vishnu in Tattva. And therefore, that way there is no difference between the Sadashiva and Mahavishnu. And that's why we say Advaita Acharya is a combined incarnation of both, and Prabhupada clarifies in one of the conversations that it's actually both are the same in a sense. So there is no harm in understanding that way. And when it comes to the Shiva within this world and Vishnu within this world, there is a big difference in the sense Vishnu does not enjoy Prakriti, or he is Nirguna. But Shiva, he is Gunanvitaha also, he enjoys Prakriti. So there is directly mixes, but he is not affected by her. So this is also described in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Those who think that Shiva, because of his association with the modes and because he is the Adipati for Tamoguna, if they think that because of that he is contaminated, then their consciousness is contaminated. Because of ignorance, they think so. So Shiva, though he enjoys with Prakriti, is not affected by her. And Vishnu does not engage with Prakriti directly. So that's the difference. So both are Ishwaras, and in the case of beyond this world, there is similarity in the sense in the Sadashiva and Mahavishnu, there is a very strong yoga. And in this world, Vishnu and Shiva, they are to be understood as different. One is not engaging with the gunas, other is engaging with the gunas. So this way, the tattva of Shambhu or Shiva is complex. But after understanding this, we should still give respect to Shiva, the highest respect to Shiva, instead of just treating him just as another demigod or something like that. It's not the case, because we see this in Mahaprabhu. He in his composition called the Shivashtakam, he says Shivaya Sarva Gurave Namo Namah. He says that he is the guru of everyone. And Vidura is describing in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam that Shiva is Charachara Guru. He is the guru of the moving as well as the non-moving. So we should not do Guru Avagya, which leads to the next offense. And Shiva being the guru, therefore he is detached and everything. You will see the characteristics of the guru manifest in him.
Hare Krishna, sorry for the interruption.
Yes,
the time is till 9:30. Just 5 more minutes. I want to just give you the signal.
Yes.
At 9:30 we have Kaishora presentation.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Maybe you want to leave some time for the questions and answers also.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'll quickly wind this up. So this is the understanding why we should offer the highest respect to the Guru and to Shiva, and therefore we should not offend the Guru or Avagya. We should not do Shruti Shastra Nindanam, not blaspheming the Vedic literature, Arthavadaha, or giving new interpretations to the holy name that don't exist, Harinamni Kalpanam, imagining things about the glories of the holy names. So previously we said it could be due to pious deeds also anarthas may be committed. That is here, thinking that holy name is just another Shubhakriya. Dharma Huta Tyaga Adi, Dharma Vrata Huta Tyaga Adi, Sarvam Shubhakriya Samyam Abhipramada. And other thing is instructing those who don't have faith in the holy name and maintaining material attachments to be the highest over everything else. So all those things. This we saw last time also, that why the aparadhas arise and how by taking association of devotees who don't have that aparadha, they can be overcome. And we have some more verses here. And so I think we can just see. Maybe, this calls for another session. And yeah. If there are any questions, you can please. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Prabhu, one question I have is when you are talking about manifestation of Shiva, right? Between the eyebrows.
Kurcha
So
Deshat.
yeah. Is it glances or eyebrows? Eyebrows, right? Yeah. Between the eyebrows.
Yeah, Kurcha Desha is the word that is used to describe. And usually it is taken as the glance. And both the Kala, Tyakta Kalam Shashikshaya, so that's why we call Lord Shiva as Mahakal also. So the time factor. And he is also Jyoti Rupa. The like eyes are associated with sight, which is associated with light. So the Jyoti Rupa from the Lord's eyes, the Jyoti that comes is the Bhagavan Shambhur. That's the Tallingam Bhagavan Shambhur, Jyoti Rupa Sanatana. So it is coming from the eyes. So Kurcha Deshat is probably, I don't want to speculate that, but it is, I think, good to understand that it's coming from the eyes. So in between eyebrows is the translation that I read, but we can look more into it.
Yeah. So that Shiva is
Sadashiva.
Shankara or Sadashiva, right?
Yeah, and he has an abode in the spiritual world. Sadashiva Loka. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jiva Goswami or Rupa Goswami mentioned this, commenting on the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, that Shiva Loke Vaikunta Dhamni. It's part of the Vaikunta Dhama. So when we say Vaikunta, it's the place where there are no miseries. That way it's part of Vaikunta Dhama.
Okay.
Yeah, so he has an abode in the spiritual world, and he, for the purpose of creation, engages with Prakriti due to the desire of Hari.
Okay. So basically Sadashiva was already existing, but he manifests through the glance of the...
Yes, yeah. He is eternal. Jyoti Rupa Sanatana is eternal. Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. When describing Bhajana Kriya, you described there's Anishtita, which is unsteady Bhajana Kriya, correct? So in that you mentioned Niyamakshama, which is inability to uphold the vows. So does that imply the vows are already taken that you want to uphold? So like to put it more practically, like this is a struggle one has after taking initiation, shelter from a guru, or is that an accurate way of thinking?
Yeah, after taking initiation also Anishtita is present until one arrives at Nishtha. So it can refer to that, or it can also refer to when the devotees come before taking initiation also, they are trying to commit to do some service or take some vows of following the principles. Because initiation doesn't immediately happen as soon as one takes the vow to follow. Once they follow for some time, then the spiritual master decides that okay, they can get initiation now. Therefore, during that time also, this thing can apply, Anishtita, inability to observe the vows, Niyamakshama.
Okay, so it can be before or after. It's just a general struggle during Bhajana
Kriya. Until Nishtha is attained, it is there before initiation also, after initiation also. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
So, Prabhu, you mentioned weakness of heart and characterized by the knowledge of what is right, but inability to do it. So, what is the cause? What are the remedies? And is it related to Anishtita in some way? Because some of the descriptions which you gave for Anishtita also seemed similar to that.
It's more in relation to Nama Bhasa that this is described, but it's a good question. And when this Hridaya Granthi, or the weakness of heart, is completely destroyed, is Vidyate hridaya grantischchidyante sarva samshaya kshiyante chasya karmani drashtevatmani ishvare. So when the chitta is completely pure, and in that reflection, when one is seeing the Lord, so that time one immediately recognizes that actually this is a reflection, and there is actual, Bhagavan is there, and actually I exist. I am immortal, because these waves are what is changing, but the soul is immortal. And when that knowledge comes, immediately the Vidyate Hridaya Granthi, the Hridaya Granthis are completely cut. And that is a more permanent remedy. But temporarily, whenever we feel low, we are not able to do, we should have some devotees whom we can share our spiritual life about. And that's why Rupa Goswami is describing that Guhya Makyati Pritchati. So we should be able to confidentially share what we are going through. At least somebody should be there among the community of devotees, similar minded, whom we can relate to and share. That way they can help us come out of that. And it's important when there is weakness of heart to not be alone. So being in the association of devotees keeps them going also, because enthusiasm is contagious, Vaisheshika Prabhuji says. So the person can feel more enthusiastic. I think online also there are some questions. Yashodhaka Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, out of all the offenses that you mentioned, there is one Jiva Aparadha, right? And I'm trying to understand, how is Jiva Aparadha, is it similar, or is it a subset of Vaishnava Aparadha? Because Vaishnava are also Jivas. So how do you relate between the two, the Vaishnava Aparadha and the Jiva Aparadhas?
Here it is categorized differently, but Jiva Aparadha is the example we can say is when that Brahmana was offended by Rupa Goswami in his meditation by smiling. Though Rupa Goswami did not intend it, still his meditation broke. So that is one way we can understand that we should not offend any living entity. Krishna says that, what is that? He says that we should not offend any living being. Such a devotee is dear to me. 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karunam evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukha kshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dridha nishchaya mayarpita mano buddhir yomad bhakta same priyaha. So a devotee who does not offend any living beings in general, what to speak of other devotees, is very dear to Krishna. And that is important also.
So Vaishnava Aparadha is a kind of Jiva Aparadha, is a part of, because every Jiva is not a Vaishnava.
Yes, here it is classified differently because one is not necessarily interested in turning their face toward Krishna, and the other is looking forward to do that. So that's why they are categorized separately. And the other thing is, one, we interact more frequently in the devotee community, and they are dear to Krishna. And whereas the jivas in general, they are generally dear to Krishna, no partiality as such, but ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. Devotees are invested in Krishna, and Krishna is also invested in devotees. Therefore, it is a more serious category there. Yeah, I think it's... Thank you, bro. It's 9:30. So, yeah, I think we can stop here. Mataji, Rashesh,
Hare Krishna.
please. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It was a fantastic class, and so nice to hear about the holy name, early in the morning, and that too from you. You've done so much research. Thank you so much for all this elaborate presentation, Prabhu. Very interestingly and coincidentally, today's Kaishura topic is also related to this. Again, it's Lord's Prayer that we hear about the holy name and chanting. So Akshaj is the presenter today, and is Akshaj there?
He's here, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay. So Akshaj, of course, comes from a family of wonderful devotees, as we know, and he's been a fantastic student in Kaishura class. Very lively and joyful and interested to hear the holy name, and we are actually studying about the holy name also this semester. So this is a presentation on what is the best way of chanting. So I'll hand over to Akshaj. You can start your presentation now.
Do you have the sides? Do you have the sides? Also, can I just keep this on the lap? Can I put this here and use it? Okay. Yeah, we will adjust it from here slides. Oh, okay. Can I also just have this? Can I also have this in front of it?
Do you have a clicker with you, Akshaj, or you have a clicker?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, great. So you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My name is Akshaj, and today we're going to be answering the question, what is the best way of chanting? So, the truth is, at one point, everyone has been distracted and not had full focus on their chanting. But before we dive into how to avoid it and how to chant with full focus, we need to know how it happens and why it happens first. The mind is our main distraction, and it is the only thing that stops us from chanting in peace and chanting the Lord's name with full focus. Yeah. So when we chant, we engage most of our senses, with our mouth chanting the Lord's name, our hands counting the beads and moving from bead to bead, and our ear hearing the mantra. And our mind is meant to concentrate, but all four of these senses fall victim to common distractions, such as engaging in different conversations or multitasking while doing your rounds, like scrolling on your phone or doing a project while chanting. Listening to other people's conversations can it's like eavesdropping, and it ends up making us think of that, and it ends up keeping us away from chanting with full focus. And there are two types of distractions: external and internal distractions. External distractions are actions that we do with our body, and internal distractions are thought-orientated, being completely only in our mind. What if there's an emergency, though? Sometimes it may become necessary to interrupt our japa if there is an important emergency situation. For example, if someone is being met with an accident and you have to rush them to the hospital for them to get help, or maybe you would have to perform an important service. Like, for example, imagine you're a temple pujari and you have to dress the deities while everyone is still in the hall performing or doing japa. You have to make sure that this is where you have to think, is it necessary to be doing these both at the same time, as there will be a noticeable amount less of focus if you do chanting off the beads while also dressing the deities. There are also service-related thoughts though, and it makes our mind cheats us into thinking that chanting the holy name while thinking of service is fine because it's just service, right? And people praise us for what we do, but they don't praise us for chanting. Like, someone would praise us for, let's say, how good we cooked the prasadam or how well we keep the temple clean, but no one really praises us for being such a good chanter, for example. So our mind just makes us think that glorification and appreciation is better than just chanting, and you gain something from service. So that's why our mind tricks us. But what does Lord Krishna suggest? Think of a mother with their little child in her lap. If the child goes out to try and touch objects that could hurt it, the mother brings the child back into her lap. This might result in the child causing a tantrum, but the mother still treats its child with love. Just like this, Krishna, just think of Krishna as the mother and us as the child. And we go out into other places and we try to think of other distractions, which would be the harmful objects, for example. And Krishna brings us back, and he makes sure that we are always focused on your chanting, because when we chant with full focus, we attain Krishna prema, which is the love of God. Thank you for listening. Haribol and Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Akshaj. I'd like to ask the audience if there are any reflections or questions.
Yeah, are there any questions? Yes. Yeah, thank you.
If you can please have a mic.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you mentioned external and internal distractions, right? And one of the internal distractions I face too much is thinking about to-do list. So any suggestions on that? Like, how can we avoid that?
Well, yeah, I also face that same issue. Like, every time I try to start chanting, I come up with, there's always stuff. Like, I have a lot of homework that I need to finish, right? So I just try to finish my rounds and, but you also have to do it with, care and attention. So you should always try to do, all your rounds, with care. And then once you finish your rounds, you can get back to what you were doing before. So, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for such a wonderful presentation. I really liked the way that all your slides were very concise with the information, and then everything that you added was so pertinent as well. And I really appreciated your main point of the mind as our main distraction and how that carries us away from chanting properly. And I definitely face this a lot. I particularly enjoyed the point you had made about how when we chant, we engage all of our senses, because then if our mind is engaged elsewhere, it carries all the senses with them. So I just felt that this was full of so many gems. I really appreciated your presentation.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you. This is such a deep presentation. I can't believe, you have so much realization on chanting and being able to explain this and convey it so nicely. And I really like the point you mentioned about how we get attached to the glorification even in the service, whereas for chanting, it's a purely an internal relationship with Krishna, so we don't give that importance. I really like that point. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else?
Okay, I think that's it. Here. Thank you so much, Akshay, for your hard work and preparation for this topic. It's not an easy topic, and we all experience, how difficult it is to chant, the practice of chanting, although it is very simple on the outside, like you said it. Thank you for putting the effort to put this together and sharing your wisdom and experience. Now I can request, can you, if the next part of the program can be started, I think it's pretty. And then I would say,
yeah, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, next is Guru Puja.
Left and right?
Yeah, mute is here.
Kirtan, करताल प्रभु. Haribol. Namasreshtam. Namasreshtam manimapi sachi putram pam Sri Rupam tasya grajam burupurim maturim goshtavatim Radha kundam girivaram aho radhika madhavasam Prapto yasya pratita krupaya Sri Gurum tam nadosmi He Guru Jnana Dina Bandho Swaranda Dhata Karunaika Sindho Vrundavanishina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Pracharam He Dina Bandho Karunaika Sindho Guru Prasadam Mai Mandamude Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padme Astumatis Naivo Bayanchi Abachitam Tavesha Brahma Yusapi Kutam Buddha Mura Smaranta Yo Antar Bahistana Brutam Ashubham Vidunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapasa Swagati Virakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy and the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sakshimata, the association of Srila Rupa Damodara, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Madhura, the blissful abode of Vrindavana, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhana Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavana. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavana, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudeva, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore, grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Super Soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opened our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Devala Bhakati Padma प्रसादे बाय ए भाव तोड़िया जाय कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होय ते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जहाँ होय ते श्री गुरु मुखा पद्मा श्री गुरु मुखा पद्मा वाक्या चितते कोरिया ऐक्या आरना कोरी हो माने आसा श्री गुरु चराने राते यही से भूता मागते जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्वा आसा जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्वा आसा चकुदन दिलो जय जन्म जन्म प्रभु साई दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते आविद्या विनाशा जाते प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते आविद्या विनाशा जाते वेद गाय जहाँ रचरित वेद गाय जहाँ रचरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनार बंधो लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना आहा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देह मोरे पाद छाया देवयाश कुशु त्रिभुवाना देवयाश कुशु त्रिभुवाना शिवा प्रभुपाद पतिता पवना शिवा प्रभुपाद पतिता पवना जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टदश अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की देवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टदश श्रीमद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की श्री मधुरा धाम की श्री मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुर धाम की तुलसी महारानी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबली डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबली डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गुरु एंड गॉड
Hare Krishna. We thank Krishna Chaitanya Ananda Prabhu for his japa class in the morning, starting at 6:15 a.m. in the morning, and also the subsequent class on the mysteries of the Holy Name. Let's give him a big hand. We also thank Tadiya Seva Prabhu for singing the Guru Puja and the Kirtan. Next is Prasadam prayers, but before that, if there are any Sankirtan announcements, please come forward and make announcements. I see Malini Devidasi on the Zoom here. Unmute yourself, Mataji.
Yes, sir. Yes. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas. Thank you so much for the opportunity to make the Sankirtan announcements. We are back from the Yatra. Many devotees are back from the Yatra where we went to Vrindavan and all the different holy places we visited. And every place we went, we were just praying for the success of Sankirtan, ISV Sankirtan at every single place. We also went to the Bhajan Kutir of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the place where he actually wrote the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. His beads were there. We saw his beads with which he used to chant, and we saw the place where he sit in one room at his very, very, very old age, and he completed the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. And close to that were Bhajan Kutirs of Raghunath Das Goswami, and there is also now Samadhi of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. So when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes at the end of each chapter that he wants to take blessings from Rupa and Raghunath, we can see the mood in which he was writing. And we felt that how fortunate we all are that we are able to connect with Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and all the previous acharyas by carrying on their legacy, by distributing the literature that they have written. And how fortunate we are that Srila Prabhupada translated the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita in English language so that we can all read it ourselves, at the same time distribute this mercy to all the people in general. I mean, it's the feeling that we had when we were there is inexplainable, but felt very fortunate to have that connection. So we have an opportunity between now and Gaur Purnima where we can distribute Chaitanya Charitamritas. Our goal for Chaitanya Charitamrita distribution by Gaur Purnima is to distribute at least 250 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets, and I know that approximately by now we have done 150 from the beginning of the year till now, so we still have 100 more sets to go. So please take this opportunity and give it to one and all. It's only $99 for the entire set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we have it available in Marathi, Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, and Oriya, and many other languages. So if you need one set, let us know. At the same time, if you want to distribute a set also, let us know. We have many spots today to go out on book distribution to distribute Chaitanya Charitamritas. And one is in Fremont. I think Ramrati Prabhu and the other devotees will go there. One is in Cupertino. Achito Kumar Prabhu and Dhira Prashanta Prabhu will lead that team. And we also have one team going in Tri-Valley, which will be led by Harikatha Mataji and Rasamrita Sesha Prabhu and Sachidanand Gaurang Prabhu. And for the Western Sankirtan spots, I know that Advina Krishna Prabhu and Vaishnav Roshni Prabhu are back. Would you be able to announce the spots, Prabhu, where the Western Sankirtan team is going? Or one of you can announce.
You can take this one, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Really nice to see you all, and thank you for your attention. Western Sankirtan will focus on 3 principal spots depending on the amount of devotees that are committed to going out. One is Madras Cafe, it's very close down the street, less than 10 minutes, Sunnyvale. And there's also Chat Bhavan, it's typically a hot spot. The forecast is that there could be some rainfall off and on throughout the day. Both of these places are sheltered, which is a good thing for most people. So if you're feeling inspired to distribute any books, but especially the Chaitanya Charitamrita, then you can join one of our teams. And if we have another group that's inspired, we can also go to downtown Mountain View. And there you just find a simple space. I'll read one quote, meaning one verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that's very important. Here it states, actually Chaitanya Charitamrita is not intended for the novice, for it is the postgraduate study of spiritual knowledge. At the same time, the verse also states that anyone who reads this, whether they understand it or not, they start to actually get a little bit of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And as we know, Lord Chaitanya is known as Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the fallen souls, not you all, but others like me. And so therefore it's a very important service. Srila Prabhupada has stressed the emphasis of distributing all his books. He's also said that he desired that any respectable person, means any civilized person, he desires that they have one full set of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam in their household. And therefore we can take that as a universal and eternal instruction to please our dear Srila Prabhupada. So if you like, you may get in contact with myself or Vaishnav Prabhu here, and we can delegate your efforts accordingly. Thank you so very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's all from Sankirtan.
Hare Krishna. Before we go to Prasadam prayers, we also want to thank our cooks for today, headed by Koladipa Prabhu and his team. Next, Prasadam prayers. Anyone wants to sing?
शरीरा विद्या जाल क्रीडेन्द्रिय ताहे काल जीवे फले विषय सागरे तार मध्य जीवाति लोभो मय सुदुर्मति ताके जटा कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ा दयामय कोरी वारे जीव जाय स्वप्रसाद अन्न दिलो भाई सैयनामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेमे डाको श्री चैतन्य निताय जय महाप्रसादे गोविंदे नाम ब्रह्मणि वैष्णवे स्वल्प पुण्यमृतां राजन् विश्वासेन जायते दुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसि हीयसो बुद्धिपर्यादिष्टते रूपपुत्तः शाकन्दा वासोऽहङ्कारचर्चितः उच्छिष्टभोजनदासः श्री श्री भगवत महाप्रसाद की